Hey guys, it's Elle, and today I wanted to make a video about what to put in your makeup bag. This is going to be for people who don't really wear makeup but they're wanting to get into it and they just want to know what basics they need to make some sort of look, like the absolute bare necessities, as well as some key things that I think every person needs in their makeup bag. This was a video that somebody requested, so I thought, why not? Now let's get into it. I'm going to try and go in the order that I usually do my makeup, starting with primer. For primer, I think it's very important to know the type of skin that you have. I said it in a video not too long ago that I consider primer to be part of your skincare. And I think the type of primer you choose really depends on the type of skin that you have. For example, if you have rosacea or you get a lot of redness very often, you're going to want maybe a primer that has a green tint to it. If you have dry skin, you're going to want a moisturizer that's more glowy, that has maybe some hyaluronic acid in it. And if your skin tends to be very oily, you're going to want a product that either has a satin or matte finish. I personally don't necessarily have any recommendations on primer. The two that I use are Peach C Peach Glow Makeup Base and Elizabeth Mott's Thank You Later Matte Primer. I have those two primers, for one when I want a glowy base and for one when I want a matte base. And also the moisturizer that I use before I put on makeup is also a makeup primer. I think that's something that you would truly have to play around with. And that's why I said I don't really have a particular recommendation, because I think that's something that really requires a lot of trial and error to see what fits your skin. But if you're not wearing full faces or you don't plan on wearing makeup, all day long, I can see why you might want to skip that step, to be quite honest. Next, I'm going to get into foundation slash BB cream. I actually recommend BB cream if you're not too used to wearing makeup. Foundation can be kind of heavy, and I know a lot of people don't like the feeling of wearing makeup. They want makeup that seems very lightweight. It doesn't feel like there's anything on your face really, and so I recommend BB cream for that. You guys know I use Misha's BB cream, but there's a lot of BB creams out there. For concealers, honestly, if it's like your first time wearing makeup, I really do recommend more cheaper brands of concealers. My go-to for drugstore brands is usually Maybelline or L'Oreal. They usually have a good shade range as well. I think they're pretty good, especially for them to be drugstore brands. You don't gotta spend a big penny on them. That's like something quick and easy. For contour and bronzer, I actually recommend to get one of those like highlighter contour palettes of contour and highlight all in one. Sometimes it's a bronzer slash contour blush and a highlight. Get one of those. I really feel like it makes getting ready and doing a full face quick and easy, especially because it's in one little compact. Next, I'm going to discuss eyeshadow. Again, if you're just now trying out makeup, I think it's really safe to get maybe 2 palettes. Now, I love stuff. I love having a lot of stuff. I love having a long list of things. So I have several palettes, but I've also been doing makeup for a very long time, so there's a reason why. If you're just now starting out and you don't really know what type of makeup looks you really want to be doing, I suggest you get 2 types of palettes. One, a palette that is full of all your neutrals, your highlights, all the different shades of brown and maybe a black, maybe a white. And then the second palette to be your fun palette, the palette that has maybe, pastels, brighter colors, that you have room to play around with different eyeshadow looks. Honestly, when it comes to eyeshadow palettes, for me, I've always been quick to get a cheap eyeshadow palette, because as long as it's pigmented enough, I'm like, I can work with it. A brand that I can recommend is LA Colors. They're pretty cheap, and if you're willing to spend a little more money, I would suggest obviously Lily by Red palettes. Also, when discussing eyeshadow and just makeup in general, I really recommend you to figure out what season you are and if you're a cool tone or a warm tone, because a lot of K-beauty brands, if you are interested in more Korean makeup brands, a lot of Korean brands, they separate their makeup into if it's a cool tone, a warm tone, summer, autumn, spring. So it's very easy to look at and go, okay, out of these choices, I know I'm a cool tone, so I can either use this palette or this palette. So if you're like me and you are kind of colorblind and you can't really tell undertones apart from one another, I tend to literally just look at the chart. I go and search up a chart. If there isn't one, I go see if somebody made one to figure out which one would suit me, because I have a very hard time recognizing undertones immediately. But like I was saying, I recommend Lily by Red. The brand Dayzique also has like a good amount of eyeshadows, and again they do separate them based on the season. Next I'm going to move on to blush. Now I am a big fan of liquid blush, but that's because I love a lot of blush. But if you're a beginner, you're not used to knowing how much blush to actually put on, I wouldn't necessarily recommend liquid blush because it's very hard to get the amount right. At least for me, I struggle with it. But if you decide to get a liquid blush, I recommend House of Hers blushes and Lily by Red's blushes. Those two blushes, they're very moisturizing. House of Her I would recommend if you're not used to doing a full face and you just want something to have like a nice natural color onto you. I do recommend them. For Lily by Red, if you want a little more pigment, a little more color, I would recommend them. Both of them are very easy to blend out and very buildable as well. I think also Juvia's Place, their blushes are massive and you get 2 shades of blushes. I also just recommend Juvia's Place if you have a deeper skin tone because they have such good pigmentation. Juvia's Place is a Black owned business and they're catering more towards Black people because Black people are kind of the afterthought when it comes to a lot of shade ranges, and Juvia's Place puts them first. For eyeliner, I actually recommend you finding a felt tip eyeliner. Liquid eyeliner is very hard to do as a beginner, and if you have sensitive skin, a lot of liquid eyeliners are probably going to burn your skin. It took me so long to find eyeliners that didn't burn my skin because I would just get like tear stain every single time I did my makeup. But I've noticed with felt tip liners, I actually don't get a reaction at all, no matter the brand. A lot of drugstores are now making them as well, so it should be easy to find one. Yeah, I don't really recommend a particular brand. Also for eyeshadow that I forgot to mention, I recommend buying eyeshadow sticks. I use eyeshadow sticks very often in my makeup and often in my tutorials. It just makes doing makeup like 10 times easier. It doesn't really matter what brand, honestly. I use Wet n Wild, but I've used NYX before. I've also used like random like AliExpress versions. They come in so many different shades. You can get glitters just like regular eyeshadow. You can use them as eyeliner, lip liner, very versatile. And like I said, that's something you can throw in your makeup bag and it literally like have 0 weight because it's just a stick. For mascara, I recommend just any Asian brand mascara. They're just much better. If I were to give a specific recommendation, you know, I'm gonna shout out Cleo Cosmetics. Their mascaras are pretty good. For lips, I'm just going to recommend lip tints in general because the color lasts. You can play with the intensity of the pigment by layering on more. I'm wearing 2 lip tints together right now. These ones are matte. The color lasts. I literally just got done eating and you can barely tell that I even ate anything. These are Pretty Petta's lip tints. I absolutely love Pretty Petta's lip tints. I have gone through so many of their lip tints. And also Laka has been sending me several of their shades. I love them as well. They have a large shade range so you can mix and match, make different lip combos and such. For setting powder, I put setting powder in the same category that I put primer. I think you really need to play around with your setting powder. I think you really need to try out different ones. I'm not necessarily loyal to any type of powder. The one that I bought the most recent, I do love the most. It took me so long to be able to find a powder that wouldn't like suck the moisture out of my skin and I could still have a glowy base. That powder and Skin Foods powder, that powder also allowed a lot of the glowiness to shine through in my makeup. For setting sprays, before I wouldn't have an answer for you, but now I finally have an answer for the 2 types of setting sprays that I absolutely love. For matte setting sprays, I absolutely love the Until Dawn One Size setting spray. That setting spray, when we're talking about a mist, that's a mist. There's no large droplets on your face. It goes on so light. And you're like, oh, my makeup's in place. Like, oh, it's stuck. Like, oh, she's not moving. She's not moving. She's not going nowhere. She's transfer proof. And for a glowy base, I'm going to recommend Junxi Mool's Essential Mool Micro Fitting Mist. The reason for it is because that spray, I don't think is technically a setting spray, so to speak, but it is just like a face spray. I use it literally anytime my skin feels too dry. Just anytime my skin feels too dry. I would put this also in the category of skincare at this point. My skin loves it, as you can see. Like, I'm literally glowing. Kind of melts all of your makeup together, if that makes sense. Like, if you feel like you didn't blend it right, or, you know, there's some harsh lines going on, miss that face a little bit, and bam, we in that thing. A close-up of the makeup. My base feels like it's painted on like so delicately, and that is because of the spray blending everything together. Those are all the basics I think everybody needs in their makeup bag. It's also for the teens, for the makeup newbies. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please be sure to give it a like, comment, and subscribe, as well as turn on notifications so you never have to miss another video. Bye!